All right, how's everybody doing? Today is April the 22nd, and I am recording this video for week 13. Um, and this video will probably be under 20 minutes. I know a lot of times when I say stuff like that, the videos end up longer, but this isn't something that I should really have to spend too much time talking about. I'm basically going to point you to a page when it comes to the concern that I wanted to talk about this week. And other than that, this will be kind of a check-in video. My apologies to Courtney. I can't remember now if you emailed me or not. I did have a few, as far as the information literacy assignment was concerned, I did have quite a few students email me, but the form just got away from me, and I apologize for that. But what I am going to say is, and I've responded just now, first of all, because you and Michaela and Aaron have commented here prior to the due date, with you all specifically, I have made notes to myself to, be especially lenient with you all because you all did contact me, you all did attempt to reach out prior to the due date. Um, and so another thing that I want the entire class to keep in mind is that what I'm saying here, this is my first time assigning this assignment. So you have to be a little lenient the first time that you assign an assignment because you have to see how the students are responding to the directions. And then what you do is in the future, I'll be less lenient. But for now, I have to be lenient, see what's being understood and what's not being understood as far as the directions, and go from there. So, yeah, I'm going to have a good degree of leniency here. Um, and if there is an egregious issue, then I probably will actually contact you before actually recording the final grade in this case for that assignment. But having said that, we are on the home stretch here, so I want you all to see that we have one more major assignment, and that's the case study, but we've pretty much gotten through the class. So, congratulate yourselves. We do have one more synced session, and that's going to be on May the 2nd. I might do an optional synced session on May the 9th. I am working out that detail. There's about a 20% chance of that happening, so it's not a good chance of that happening, but it's something that I'm considering if I get a guest speaker. Okay? Um, so I've said that. Uh, what I want to do is come back over here and let's just talk about security briefly. First of all, this is the URL that I'm looking at, and this URL is this libguide here is from the Association of College and Research Libraries, ACRL, and I wanted to just basically discuss very briefly safety and security, and I wanted you all to see that this page exists so that you can kind of look at it for yourselves. But we do have to be careful with safety and security in our academic libraries. I think that the concerns are more, um, I think people are more aware of these concerns in the public library. But in the academic library, there are still some concerns. And so this tab here, and you see this tab for safety and security, this tab is a good starting point for when you want to discuss and brainstorm safety and security. One of the reasons I'm bringing this up is because you hear this time after time, and it's so gross. And I apologize for those who are uncomfortable with seeing this type of content. But you'll see this all over the place. Students say this at so many schools all over the place. Where to be gross, on campus. People get excited about that, doing stuff in public, doing things that they're not supposed to do. Um, And yeah, you'll see it time and time again. People talk about hooking up in the library. It's a thing. It was a thing when I was in undergrad. I never did it, but other people did. I knew people who did. And there are also some libraries that are designed in such a way, some academic libraries that are designed in such a way where, yes, there should be surveillance everywhere, but I've heard cases of, assaults happening to people in these libraries because there are so many nooks and crannies where things just might happen. So that's why I like to talk about safety and security because we can't really have that stuff going on in these academic libraries. So safety and security is actually a very general topic. As you can see here, ACRL puts in 4 subtopics here: precautions to protect students and staff against acts of violence, safeguarding collection materials from theft and vandalism, internet protection, and procedural safeguards and plans for natural and man-made disasters. I would say that issues of students being too intimate in the academic library are also issues of these aren't so much issues of protecting against violence, but it's protecting people from having to see stuff that they don't want to see. So what you have on this page, creating policies and procedures, what ACRL has done is linked up to a bunch of good pages that you can review as far as getting some help on how to create policies and procedures to remedy these situations, to have policies for your security, to safeguard your collections from theft and vandalism, ripping out pages and things like that. Internet protection, that's a little bit of an iffy one. There's just so much. We don't really have the time right now to discuss everything that goes into content being protected, or we don't have the time right now to really talk about like free speech and these internet policies and whether or not they are resulting in censorship and things like that. But ACRL has also been kind of watching what's been going on in libraries. So guns in libraries, ACRL has some information here, or they link up to information here when it comes to guns and that sort of thing. Different states have different laws as far as guns being permitted on campus. I'm actually not familiar with the law here in Missouri, but I think in Texas it's actually legal to carry on campus. In South Carolina, that was not the case. In South Carolina, it was legal to have a gun in your glove compartment in your car on campus, but even if you had a concealed carry permit in South Carolina, you could not conceal carry on campus. So that's something to be mindful of. Try to familiarize yourself with the laws of your state, and not everyone here is from Missouri, so try to familiarize yourselves again with the laws in your state. Opioids in libraries. I've not heard that this is a particular academic library issue, but something's probably going down if ACRL is devoting information to it here. And then social justice in libraries. I am just going to read this because social justice is a big thing right now. So at first glance, social justice would not appear to be a safety or security topic, but academic libraries should nevertheless contemplate how they want to represent themselves with this subject. Such topics have become especially divisive on campus and with the central location that libraries typically occupy at their universities. Libraries are uniquely situated to be a place that students and other patrons look to as a haven and as a resource for information. In addition, academic libraries routinely deal with social justice issues, whether or not they categorize them that way, such as serving populations of diverse backgrounds and protecting patron privacy. Um, that's a big thing. If law enforcement asks you for information about a patron, an academic library patron, if they do not have a warrant, do not give it to them. And I assure you, it's dicey for me to be giving legal advice, but I assure you that if they come with a warrantless request for a search and you refuse to yield that information to them, then if there is an attempt to come after your job for not cooperating or charge you with obstruction, you are probably going to beat those charges. So there are some links here, and what I would want you to do basically with this speech here, I'm more so, instead of explaining this and going through it step by step, I want you all to be aware that this page is sort of a landing page, and it will get you connected with a lot of really good information related to safety and security. And things do happen. I would say that one issue that I dealt with at a previous academic library that I worked at was that that library was 24/7, and so they did have to establish procedures for when people could and could not be in the library if they were not students, staff, or faculty. And so that's something that you really have to look at your community and make adjustments based on that. So I can tell you, for instance, there was a lot more. I will compare Coastal Carolina University and the University of South Carolina. So the University of South Carolina, it's in downtown. It's in downtown Columbia, South Carolina, and it's the inner city, and anyone can just pop up in there if security is not on their game. It's not a suburban campus. There are a lot of people that walk through that area. So University of South Carolina had to make a more rigorous attempt at keeping people out who shouldn't be out in there at certain times, and that's just because of the nature of where it was located, and because really the areas around campus can be high crime areas, and there were a lot of times when students would be victims of robberies around campus because people know that the students aren't supposed to be carrying. And that was a thing for me. I was actually carrying my 38 illegally at times because if somebody came up on me, I really just wanted to give them a little bit of a surprise. So that's just how that rolled. But at Coastal Carolina, because Coastal Carolina is, it's it's not even in Conway, South Carolina. It's like outside of Conway and outside of Myrtle Beach. It's not somewhere where somebody just walking the street would just happen to end up. You have to want to get to Coastal Carolina purposely in order to get there in most situations. So their security policies were not nearly as rigorous. So you have to, and they would keep people not affiliated with the university out, I think, from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Whereas I think the University of South Carolina was restricted to students, faculty, and staff from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. So there's a difference there, and you just have to kind of assess what's going on with your community and the threats and so forth with that. But yeah, this is a good landing spot. Hopefully you can learn a little bit more about, if you want to learn a little bit more about library security through the resources that ACRL has laid out for us here. But that's all the time I've got for today, but I just wanted to leave you all with that, and we'll probably have a longer lecture next week. On second thought, no, we won't, because next week is a sync session. We have a sync session a week from Thursday. I can't believe it's already almost May. But I'm going to leave it right there, and I will see you all next week at the sync sessions. So until then, catch up on reading, catch up on discussion posts, blah, 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 and look forward to seeing you all next week. Have a good one.